Hi, it's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is CRAP video number 12. CRAP stands for Creative Recreation and Play, and I wasn't really intending to make a video, but then I got thinking maybe this is one video where you'd like to see some of my think out loud process of how I do things. And I really don't know what I'm going to do. I have a bunch of stuff sitting here on my workbench, and I want to explain why this is here. First of all, I got this idea that I want to do a mixed media canvas. So this canvas that is here, a few days ago, I gessoed it. Ignore the stuff that's on top of it, I'll explain that in a minute. So I got it all gessoed and let it sit aside for a day or two just to dry because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do yet. Went through my stash of things and pulled out some elements that grabbed my interest. It's a real mixed bag collection of things. I was sort of inspired by a video I saw on YouTube by Mirmi Small Art. I've reviewed her YouTube channel before on my vlog. She was doing a mixed media canvas, and she was basically doing it from a bunch of odds and ends that she had laying around. And her end result was beautiful. But her end results of most of her things are beautiful. She just has a real talent for this. So I pulled up a bunch of random things and thought, okay, maybe I'll try to create a mixed media canvas out of those. So those sat off in a corner for a few days as well. Then I saw a video on YouTube for making a tunnel page journal page, which basically is the person that was doing this was taking several pages of her art journal and ripping out the centerpiece, and on each page the centerpiece was getting progressively smaller. And then she painted them, added her embellishments, and raised each page up on foam squares, and it looked really kind of neat. And I got thinking, well, I could do something like that with a mixed on a canvas. So I went to my Cricut and I cut out this basic shape that you see right here. Okay, right. And I made it progressively smaller, and I had to play around with this to get these to line up properly, but I found if I created them in layers and on squares, I got them to line up. So you see you've got this dimension, and my idea here was I'm going to back it onto a piece of card as well, and I'll color each layer something different, maybe use some texture paste on it, and then build each layer up and, you know, get sort of a tunnel. They call it a tunnel book or tunnel effect. However, while I was doing that, I ended up with the cutout pieces from these shapes here. All of these fun little pieces that are in different sizes. So I thought, you know, I don't want to throw those out. Those might come in handy for something. And because I'd played around and went through almost a whole pad of watercolor paper, because that's what I cut it on, I ended up with a lot of those. And so this is what I created. And I used Tim Holtz's oxide inks for this, and I layered everything up, and I put dimensional squares underneath. And I really liked how that turned out. It's a pretty little piece. So then I got thinking, well, this might look good as a focal point on a mixed media canvas. So I took the canvas that I'd already gessoed, and I went into my stash of printed papers, deli papers that I had printed using a jelly plate press system, and I tore them up, and I wasn't really that concerned about colors, and just laid them all down, glued them down to the canvas with matte medium. Some of the color bled that was on some of them. It wasn't permanent. I don't know what I had created those with. And then I thought, well, you know, the colors that are there are not really going that well with this color here. So I thought, well, let's cover it in clear gesso, let it dry. That'll protect this layer. And then maybe I'll do one of Tim Holtz's techniques with his oxide inks, using these colors on top of this, because the oxide inks tend to be a little bit transparent as well, and I can build up a layer like that. So that's fine and dandy. I let the clear gesso dry overnight, and it went kind of cloudy in the center part here. But again, that's not really bothering me because this is a bottom layer. So then off I went last night to a special talk at the art gallery where they were talking about how to understand abstract art, and we did a little exercise where we poured some ink, India ink, on a piece of paper and blew it around with a straw and whatnot, and the idea was that you'd see images emerge from that and you could draw them in and that kind of stuff. But it got me kind of excited about doing something in abstract art again. Now, you know, I've been doing things with poured acrylics, which are a form of abstract art, but I thought, well, maybe instead of using this or using the mixed media pieces on this one, maybe I would try some abstract art. So that's where I am at now. So this morning I decided, okay, I'm going to get out the camera and explain this to you, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do as I do it. And really, truly, this is a real crap video here, meaning that I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know if I am going to use this little thing over here. I don't know if I'm going to use anything from the stash up here. I am toying with the idea of putting down a colored glaze of some sort on top of this. And I just bought a bottle of this stuff, and I haven't used it yet. It's called Gloss Glazing Liquid, Slow Drying Extender for Acrylic Colors. And so basically it says you use alone or blend with acrylic colors in any ratio. Use for wet blending improves brushability. Working time depends on surface absorbency and environmental conditions. Do not apply thickly. Dry completely before recoating to avoid lifting. Do not use as a varnish. Always test for application. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, health and safety. Don't drink it. Yeah, we got that. It says it's very transparent up here, and it's relatively thin. So I'm thinking maybe I'll mix up some glazes using this with some colors that are maybe a little bit more in this color scheme that I have on here, and see what happens. I may not end up using this at all on this piece. I may just end up making something that's very abstract, but I am going to play. So I'm going to make some room here on my bench, and I'm going to mix up some glaze, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay, what I've done is I've picked three colors that are close to three of the colors that I used in that embellishment that I showed you that I made, the burst thing. And I've got a little purple, a light blue, and some yellow. And I've squirted some of this out onto my disposable palette here. And now I'm going to take my gloss glazing liquid, and I'm going to just sort of mix it together. I'm not sure how much to use of this. It said any amount. I want this to be fairly transparent, so I'm going to use a fair amount in here. And I'm just using a palette knife to mix it around. I've probably got way too much here, but that's okay. I'm not going to waste it, because off camera I have a little book that I just picked up out of my stash, and I'm going to use that to just, you know, take random paint and that and throw it down into it, and then those will become maybe background pages for something in the future. I've seen other people doing that technique. Now, I have no idea. This is really, I've got an awful lot here. I made way too much. And I'm not even sure if this is glazy enough or not. Oh no, I should have done that in the little book. Okay, see, here's my little book. Alright, just open it up, a blank page. I have it over here off screen. And let's mix a little bit more of this in. Yeah, I think, don't try to mix the whole big blob in at once. I'm going to add a little more. And when I say a little more, a lot more. Actually, having this little book off to the side here, I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just cleaning off my palette on here, but this gives me an idea as well of how transparent this is. So I'm mixing some yellow. Again, this is all an experiment. I have no idea what I am doing. Okay, let's see how that looks. I'm kind of liking what's happening on that piece of like junk paper. The blue, I'm not happy with the blue. I don't think that's, I'm going to take a little, I think this. The beauty of one of these disposable palettes is that you can just take the sheet when you're done, throw it away, which makes cleanup a lot easier. Okay, let's see what we've got here with the blue. Actually, if anything, I'm kind of liking these colors as they blend together. Ooh, I'm creating mud. Okay, don't do that. All right, now, the point is, should I apply this with a palette knife, or should I apply it with a brush? I think I'll use the palette knife. Here goes. I'm just going to swipe it. Actually, I have a little texture to this as well that this is kind of picking up. It's because the deli paper, when I glued it down, wrinkled in spots. Let's try a little bit of the purple. And now for a little bit of the yellow. Actually, I'm kind of liking this. I've got a lot of paint left over on my palette though here. A little more yellow in here. Once I've said this on many videos, I don't know when to stop. And I think I need a little bit more of the blue. Just okay, I think I should stop. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm not sure how long this is going to take to dry. I'm kind of liking that though. So I'm going to clean up the excess paint here into this other sort of we want to call it a wipe-off journal or something like that. I don't know. There is a term. People have used a term for it. And I may hit this with the heat dryer and then come back and, I don't know, maybe I should add some texture to it next. Maybe get out some molding paste or some glass bead paste. Oh, that's something I haven't used in a while. Glass bead paste. That might be fun. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now that I've done the glazing on top of this, and I kind of like the way it turned out. It's kind of accentuating the little wrinkles in the jelly or in the deli paper that's underneath it. So pull it up here. Now this was a gloss, so I do have a bit of a shine on this as well. Now, with the colors that I used, does it go better with the little embellishment I showed you earlier? Maybe yes, maybe no. I think it's a little bit better than what I had there before, but I'm still not sold on the whole idea of even using this. So I'm just taking it off to the side. And now I'm thinking I want more texture on here. And I'm going to do a little experiment with 3 products that 2 out of 3 I haven't used much. I'm going to use some flexible molding paste. And I'm using flexible molding paste because this is on canvas, so it'll have a little bit of give to it. It has less tendency to crack. I have something called glass beads. I have used this before. They're actually glass beads. Probably can't see it in here. See if I can get a little shine on it. In the paste itself, and that dries clear. And the glass beads give a neat texture. And something called string gel. Now, I have really never used much of this before. It says it's a gel with a honey-like consistency, enhances depth of color, and increases transparency. Permanent, non-yellowing, flexible, and water-resistant when dry. You can mix it with acrylic color for interesting applications and effects. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to tint any of this. I'm going to just use my palette knife and I'm going to put each one of these products on here on random. Now this, I don't know how this is going to dry. I don't know if I'll be able to apply my heat tool to it or not, because I know on something like molding paste you have to be careful, it can bubble up. So I may have to let it just sit and dry naturally on here. But I'm just going to spread them on. So I'm not going to use a stencil or anything like that. I'm tempted to, but I'm not. And I'm wondering if I should use this or I should use, maybe I'll use this. So this is the flexible, and I'm just going to, I don't want to cover the entire surface. And I might do a little graffiti in it. Graffiti is when you just scratch into it. Makes interesting designs. Let's see, I'll use, this is one of the Dina Wakley mixed media tools. Better clean that off, dry. Okay, so that's, I wonder if I need any more anywhere else. No, I'm just going to, that's all I'm going to put of that because I'm using 3 different products here. Okay, the glass bead. Clean off my little rubber spatula thingy here. Technical term for it, little rubber spatula thingy. I don't know what they call it. Just smear, another technical term. Maybe with a little bit of overlap on what I already have. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you can see the little glass beads in this stuff. And my last product, again, cleaning off this, is the string gel. Now, I'm really not sure how to use string gel. It says it's string. I'm just going to dip this in and see if I can get it to drip. Kind of a slow process here. I'm just letting it drip off the end of this tool. I'm really not sure. Okay, I got it started, so I'm just sort of It's like honey, the consistency of it. My whole point of doing this, I'm wondering if I can, I wonder what happens if I put a little puddle right from the jar. Whoa. Well, that's a glob. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to try and smooth it out. I have no idea what I'm doing with this right now. I'm just sort of spreading it out onto the canvas. It is gooey. Okay, I'm just going to leave that. That's all I'm doing with that. And okay, I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to try to apply a little bit of heat to it and see what happens, but I have a feeling that I'm going to have to let this air dry, and that's going to take it a while. So I'll be back and show you the result of that. Okay, so now the texture mediums that I laid down have dried, and as you can see, this is the flexible molding paste that I did a little graffiti into. And then here is the glass beads, which I don't think the camera's probably picking them up. There, you can see them there at the top, the shine. And then this was the string gel, which right now is dry and it's relatively clear. So I've still got this thing that I'm thinking of using still. And colors don't look bad with it, but they're still not exactly what I want. So I'm thinking of doing a little experiment here. I've got out my Distress Oxide inks, and that's what I used on this piece. And I'm thinking of applying some of those directly onto the textured pieces. Now the problem is, I have a feeling this is going to act like a resist. The glass beads anyways, and this, because this is a water-soluble product. So I don't know what's going to happen. So let's see. I'm going to start with the broken china. It's the colors that were in that little burst. And ink up my pad, and let's just randomly go around. Now the glass beads have picked some of it up. The gel, the string gel, is kind of picking them up, but I have a feeling it might not come off. I don't know. This is interesting. Okay, so I used that. Let's try the Wilted Violet. Okay, this is the Wilted Violet. Fired Brick. And the Cracked Pistachio. And the Fossilized Amber. And I'm just going a little bit around the edges here because I've got some white. I just want to darken that up. Okay, now I've got my spray bottle because this is water activated. So let's see what happens. And I'm just going to let it sit for a minute and see if I get a little bit of watermarking happening on here. Now I'm getting a little bit of reaction. I know you can't see it on camera, but I've got some watermarks up here and there. So I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm just going to sort of dab. Okay, now some of the color came off, which I expected it to do. Just not so sure about over here. Actually, well, the color's coming off a little bit on the glass beads and on the gel, but not a lot. So I think I'm going to hit it with the heat gun. Okay, so I've dried it a little bit with the heat gun, but as soon as that stuff gets wet again, it does become reactive. But let's take a look at how this is looking with my little embellishment here. Colors are a little better. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking now, this is interesting. As it dries, the white's poking through a little bit. I think I need to add a little bit more of the broken china. Let's just see what that looks like with this. And maybe a little bit more of the wilted violet. Oops, which way does this go? I think I'll put it. No, I don't like that. Alright, maybe like that. That looks a little better. Okay, this is just a few more, just little drops. Now I'm definitely getting some watermarks happening now. And this time I don't think I'm going to dab it with a paper towel. I think I'm just going to let it sit here for a second. And I'm watching these watermarks happening. Not sure if you can see those on the camera. They're in throughout here. They're all over. Not so much down in here. Again, that may be because that's where I've got some of that. That's that gel, which I think is acting as a resist. Okay, let's give it a dry. Now, I'm thinking, I have a fair amount of texture going on here, but I'm wondering if I should do any kind of like drips, sort of running down. And if I do want to do drips, what do I want to use to create the drips? Well, maybe some acrylic paint. And of course, what color do I want to do those in? So, this is the question. So I will come back with the answer. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to try some drips running down from the top on the panel, and I've picked 3 colors of acrylic paints. Now, I've had these in these fine line applicators for quite a while. I've been shaking them up, and I'm hoping that they have not clogged up, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to start with the yellow. And just try off here to see if I can get any paint out of this. Oh yeah, there's some paint there. So I'm going to start in the center, and I don't know if I can get enough to run from this. I'm going to have to use some water, I think. Yeah, it's giving me some grief here. I'm just wondering if the tips are too fine to handle. Okay, I'm gonna cheat. Paint's fairly thick that's in these bottles. Ooh, that may be too much. This is why it's not coming out. These need to be watered down, I think, more to get things out. So let's get the spray bottle of water. It's going to be hard to show on camera. Now I know you can't see what's happening here, but I'm getting some drippage. I'll show this to you in a second. You see it's running down here. It's not really what I had in mind. However, I'm not disliking it. What I am disliking is that blob of yellow at the top. Okay, I'm going to grab a baby wipe. And just cleaning off some of that there. I think I'm going to abandon this idea of trying to get them out of the fine liners, but I think I'll use the paint that's in the fine liners. Okay, this is really not easy when your eyesight up close sucks. Okay, I'm supposed to get that little needle inside. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm trying to put this thing back down in. There we go. Okay. This feels a little bit more fluid. I wonder if I just add I'm going to do this over to the side here so I don't Okay, I'm doing this the hard way. Try and squirt water into it. Let's just pour some. Okay. Put the cap back on and give this a shake and see if this makes things a little bit more fluid. Okay, let's see what... And I can't get the bloody lid off. Here we go. Okay. It's a little runnier. This might do more of what I want it to do. Okay. I got a little thick up there at the top, so I'm going to hit it with a little bit more water. Okay, I know you can't see this. I'll show this to you in a second. So I'm kind of liking that, but I kind of like the what it's done in the graffiti. See here? I kind of like that. Okay, that's not bad. Let's see how fluid. Yeah, the red needs water. Don't know. I don't hear a lot of this moving around in the bottle. I may need to. Well, it might be okay. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, I'm getting it to run here too. It's a little solid. That's kind of neat. Okay, let's see if we can fix up the yellow. And I'm just adding a little more water to it. Oops. Okay, I need a palette knife here. There's a little bit of thick paint at the top of the neck of my bottle, as you can see. So I'm just trying to scrape that out. Add a little more water. Well, this one you can hear it. I don't know if I've got a blockage in here or I need more water, but the yellow is not cooperating. It's still pretty thick. Okay, I've run out of water, so I got to get some more water and I'll be right back. So I think I fixed up my yellow here. So it's still not that easy to get it out. I think there's something, even though I'm giving it a real good shake, and I've got a lot of water in here. Just wondering if the hole, the wire is plugged up or something. Give it a really good shake. And see what happens here. There, that's a little better. Oh yeah, okay, that's runny. Let me get my water bottle here ready for spritzing. I like watching the stuff drip. It looks good on the the glass beads. I have a feeling though that the oxide inks that I put on, because they are water reactive, are probably moving down as well. But actually, if they are, they're adding some color here. Okay. I could probably use a little bit over on this side, maybe a little bit more of the blue. And I'm kind of manipulating it to run down near the edge. Okay, that's not bad. I think I need a little bit more red down here running down though, so I'm going to start the red a little further down. Okay. I'm wondering down here if I need a little bit more of the red as well. You never know when to stop. There we go. Okay, I've got one wet canvas now, that's for sure. Just shake off some of the excess. Okay, I think I'm going to have to, oops, hit the camera, sorry. So that's looking pretty good. So I think I'm going to give this a dry. I need more yellow. No, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Don't do anything more with it. I'm just going to give it a dry. So it means I need to clean up here a little bit because I'm getting really quite messy. So, okay, I'm really liking how this is shaping up, color-wise and texture-wise, and with the abstract qualities that are on this. And so I want to do more though. And so I reached into my stash and I've got some Liquitex paints, or not paints, these are inks. They're acrylic inks, and a friend of mine is moving and she cleaned out a whole lot of these because she said she hardly ever used them, and I had a few, but now I have quite a few, as you can see. And I'm thinking that last night I went to a presentation about how to interpret abstract art, and we did a little exercise where we blew some ink. I'll show it to you. We took some black ink, dripped it onto a sheet of paper, and then took a straw and blew it. And we got this kind of design, whichever way you want to look at it. And that's what I did. And I really like these little fine feathery lines that came out from that. So I'm thinking that I might try that with some of this ink. Now this is a copper, iridescent rich copper. And I'm thinking that that copper might add sort of a metallic kind of sheen onto this. This may or may not work. So I've got my baby wipes right close by here. Get one out. And I've given this a good shake. I don't know if the iridescent materials in this have a tendency to settle out in the bottle or not. I'm looking at the bottom here. Looks like they're pretty well evenly distributed. And I'm just going to drop a little, maybe, right here. Ooh, it's kind of thick. Ooh, this might not be good. And I'm going to take a straw. My head might get in the shot. Don't know if I'm happy with this. Okay, it's acrylic. Let's add some water. Sorry if my head's in the way. I may pass out here any minute. Could use some air. Actually, I don't mind that, but I think I'm going to see if I can just mop up a little bit, maybe 2 solid. Okay, it adds a little bit something to it, but you want to know something? I'm going to start another experiment. I have got something called an e-brush. It is a air brush that you usually use with markers and things. And I'm wondering if I can just use the air part to blow some of this around. This could turn out to be a lot of crap, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a shot. I've got to get that set up, so I'll pause the video and come back. Okay, so I've plugged in my e-brush, which is a little airbrush that works with markers. The markers go in the top of this little holder and they come down here and the air squirts out from them, so they act like a professional airbrush with paint, except you're using markers. And there's different attachments you can put on here to hold different markers. So you can use Sharpies, you can use Tombos, you can do Tim Holtz distress markers, things like that. And I think I need to push this on a little tighter. Just give me a second here. Okay, so what I'm thinking of doing is I'm not going to put a marker in there. I'm going to put some more of this on here, and I'm going to, it's kind of thick, so I'm just going to put a drop there. I'm going to squirt it a little water, and I'm going to turn this on. Now this is going to make a noise, so sorry about that. And see what happens. Oh, this doesn't do too bad a job. Easier than blowing it through a straw. Okay, let's put a little bit more of this down. I'm kind of liking what this is doing. Let's move this around. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so I think that's the copper. So let's see, what other color could I use? I have a bright gold, so why don't we try that? Shake it up well. Just loosen off if there's any settling of the iridescent material that's in here. This one seems a little runnier. Yeah, I don't know if I need any water with this. And I think I'm going to put a little bit in this area. And I think I'm going to put a little down here. Okay, that certainly does add a little bit of iridescence to this. And I'm just wondering if I need a little bit more over in this area, and up there. Yeah, I think I do. Do I want to use, yeah, I'm going to stick, because I don't think I have any other colors that I'd want to use with this. That was rich copper. I've got a bronze. The bronze is kind of dark though. I think I'm going to stick to the gold. I do have a silver. I don't think silver would look good with this. I'm going to stick to the gold. Put a little up there. And I'm going to put a little down in this area here. Now again, I've got that clear string gel down here, so I'm not sure what's happening with it. It really does add like a shine to this. I don't know if I want to use more. Ooh, this is a debate. Okay. I really like the gold, but I like the bronze as well. No, I think I should leave it. I think I should leave it. Now, if anybody's interested, you'll probably write me a comment and go, where did I get this little toy? About a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, these were out there. They were all the rage. You can do a search on the internet. I think I ordered mine through my through the supplier for my local scrapbooking store. It took a while to get it. And then I got a whole bunch of different attachments for different, like this one's got an S on it. I put it there so I know that's for Sharpies. But I've got a bunch of other ones that'll work with like Spectrum Noir or Copic markers, ones that'll work with, as I said before, my dual brush Tombow markers and my Distress ink markers as well. It's kind of neat. You're not going to get the same kind of quality as you would if you had a real airbrush system, but it works pretty well. Now, whether or not you can still get them, I have no idea with it. But do a search. Amazon might sell them. They're not particularly cheap. I think I paid in Canadian around 150 bucks for it. Might have been slightly less. I don't know. But I haven't used it that much. But I just got the idea today to try it on here. And, well, I got my money's worth as far as I'm concerned at this point. Maybe I'll use this more often. Maybe I should do a whole canvas with nothing but markers in this thing and see what turns out. That might be cool. That might be cool. Good idea. Note for the future. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. And I'm debating now whether or not I need something more. I have a real affinity for script stamps, rubber stamps. And I'm wondering if I should try doing some rubber stamping on this, just to add a little bit of script text in the background, and maybe do it using acrylic paints though, as opposed to ink. Good question. Don't know. I think what I am going to have to do though is I think I'm going to have to dry this and then spray it with a workable fixative just to seal everything, because I've used a lot of water-based products on here, and just to protect what I have, and then whatever next layers I put on it, I'll go from there. Now, let's just go back to my original little idea of sticking this thing on here. What do you think? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe not. I'm thinking of leaving it more abstract without this little Dewey on it. I like this little thingy here, but yeah, I can always put it on something else, I suppose. I don't know. I'll wait and see. Okay, so I'm going to dry this, and when I come back, maybe I will do some rubber stamping. Okay, now I'm getting nervous. I've given this a spray with some workable fixative, as they call it. It only takes about 5 minutes to dry, and I did apply the heat gun to it a little bit too. And that should protect these layers, which I'm really loving. And I like the shine on them, to the point where I'm really thinking at the end of all of this I'm going to varnish this in a glossy varnish as well. But I think I need to add a little more, like some text kind of things. Since I've been working primarily in acrylics, I'm going to stamp in acrylic. Now, I pulled up these two stamps. This one, it's hard to see. It has little numbers and things on it. Actually, it's easier to see it if you see it on the set. It's a Stampers Anonymous stamp called Ultimate Grunge. And for those of you that are interested in this set, it's CMS 075. And this is the stamp that I'm going to use right here, the one with the numbers. And the other stamp I'm going to use is a text stamp, and it comes from the Ledger Script Set by Stampers Anonymous. It's CMS 241, and it's this stamp. Now, I'm not going to ink the entire, put paint on the entire stamp on this one because it's so big. I just want to touch it here and there. So I'm thinking up here in the corner would be good for this number one, and I want to get this the right way. I better check it against the legend. Okay, it goes this way. All right, and I've got my palette paper over here, and I'm going to try it with heavy body acrylic. This is Ivory Black, And I'm using black because I got lots of color in here and I want this to sort of stand out. And I'm using heavy body because it's a little thicker, which might be a mistake. I don't know. I've got a brayer though, so I'm going to roll it out on my brayer, and I'm going to get it fairly thin if I can, and I'm just going to put it onto my stamp. That's probably enough. And I'm not going to use an acrylic pad for this. I'm just going to use my fingers. I'm just going to press it down and hope for the best. Well, that's not bad. It's kind of interesting. And I think I'll add some more paint to it. And maybe this time I'm going to do it upside down, down in this corner. Yeah, that's okay. I better grab a baby wipe and clean the paint right off now, because if this dries on your rubber stamps, acrylic paint, once it's dry, you won't get it off and it's going to bugger up your stamp. So it's good to clean it up immediately, because you don't want the paint drying in those little nooks and crannies. Okay, I think that's good. Now, I'm not too happy with this up here. I got a little smudge because I dropped it, so I think I should be able to wipe that off. That's good enough. Okay, now I've got this bigger one. So I'm going to use this top part of it. And maybe right in here. Ooh, I probably should have had something underneath this canvas. Or maybe not. Let's see if there's any paint left. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. It's subtle, but I really don't want it to be a main focal point. I just want to add a little interest here. Okay, let's clean the crap off this. Okay, I'm liking that, but now I'm thinking, what else do I need? Now, this is where I'm starting to move a little bit away from abstract painting, what I would call abstract painting, to mixed media. And I don't know if I want to cross that line. I've sort of semi-crossed that line by doing some stamping on this. But I'm trying to justify that by saying I'm using acrylic paint for the stamp. So as such, I'm using it in a more abstract way. Yeah, that's my logic, if it's any logic at all, but it's my art, my idea. Okay, so this needs to dry. What else does it need? I'm not sure. I'm going to dry it, and then maybe I'll think of something while it's drying. So I'm thinking there's not much more I want to add to this, because I said I'm afraid I'm going to move into the realm of mixed media if I start adding things to it, and I'm really trying to keep it as a piece of abstract art. But I'm thinking maybe it needs a bit of a border, and I'm thinking sort of a sketchy little border, and I've got this pen out. It's a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, and it's India ink, so I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to try a little bit. I'm not so sure if I like that. I think I need something a little finer. Let's see if I can get that off with a baby wipe. Yes, I can. Very good. Okay, wrong pen. let's try, what's this? This is a Copic multi-liner, a little thinner. So let's just see, make sure that that's dry. Okay. And I'm just doing, yeah, I like this a little better. And I'm just sort of like I'm writing really fast. I'm just going along the edge. I'm doing the same, and I'm trying not to think too much about this or be too accurate. It's just something to frame this piece. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Anyone know something? I think that's all I'm going to do to this right now. But I need to do something with the sides of the canvas because they're kind of mucky, and maybe with a paint pen, maybe go around in those in gold. I think I've got a gold paint pen somewhere. I'll have to look for something and see what I'll come up with. I'll be back. Okay, so I have it all finished. I painted the edges, still a little wet, so I just painted them with a little gold on the edge, and I now put a coat of satin finish varnish on the top of all of this. I was going to use a gloss varnish, but then I thought maybe that would make it too shiny, and I didn't want to use matte because I still want this to be somewhat shiny, because I use that iridescent inks on here, and I want it to bring up the underneath part a little bit too, in the same, you know, glossy finish. So I've got satin over the top of this, and I'm really happy with this. Surprising, because if you remember, I started out with a canvas that was covered in printed deli paper pieces with a coat of clear gesso over top of it, and I was thinking of using this little piece on top of it, which didn't look that bad, but no, not going there. This is pure abstract that I have done here, okay? And I'm really proud of it. I think this one turned out great. So, in my opinion, this is not crap. So I hope you feel the same. And if you don't, that's okay as well. Cost you nothing. See you next time. Bye-bye.